Georgia slamming President Trump for his disgraceful phone call demanding that the Secretary of State of Georgia find enough votes in that state to overturn his election defeat. This as the president continues to lash out at lawmakers who refuse to play along with his scheme. For more on that, I want to bring in Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. You probably saw it that today the president tweeted this, and let me put it up on the screen and read it. The surrender caucus within the Republican Party will go down in infamy as weak and ineffective guardians of our nation who were willing to accept the certification of fraudulent presidential numbers, end quote. Is that how you would describe yourself, as part of what the president calls the surrender caucus?
No, certainly not. And if he calls us the surrender caucus, I would actually say that what we're doing is we're fighting, and we're fighting to uphold, even in difficult circumstances, the Constitution of the United States and the will of the people. The president had plenty of opportunity over the last number of weeks to prove his case in court. That wasn't done. No court case happened. All these things that are being thrown out on Twitter that, you know, supposedly prove fraud are later proven to be fraudulent themselves. And what we need to do now is to get away from this desire that some politicians have to just avoid the pain of having to tell, you know, their base or their district what they don't think they want to hear, and just tell them the truth. When the truth comes out, people will want to hear it. But when nobody's saying the truth, people are confused and they don't know who to believe, so they believe who they think they trust.
You know, what is so totally outrageous, Congressman, is that at least 140 of your fellow House Republicans are expected to vote against counting the Electoral College results, the electoral votes, when the House and Senate convene on Wednesday. Have you had private conversations with these colleagues of yours? Have you tried making the case to them that this, for all practical purposes, is outrageous?
Yeah, look, we've had, it's really been the center of everything we've been talking about since we've been back out here in D.C. I'm hopeful that what initially would have been 140 will be less, that we've kind of stemmed that tide a little bit, you know, just in having these discussions. That said, you know, if it's 100 or 50, it's way too many. But if we can do less, that's good. I mean, the bottom line is this, is President Trump ran a race and he lost. And all the evidence is that he lost. Every state which has the final authority in terms of certification has certified their results. It is not the role of the Congress of the United States to determine whether or not we like what they sent. It's our job to simply determine that they sent electors to us.
Yeah, all 50 states and D.C., you're absolutely right. They did officially certify the results of the election. Biden won by more than 7 million votes. And then the Electoral College convened virtually, and they affirmed the results, 306 232 for Trump. You need 270. Trump is the loser. Biden is the winner. Ultimately, the guardrails of the Constitution, I think you agree with me, will hold. But even this push to overturn the election by the president and his supporters in the House and Senate, it may be bumbling, it may be futile, but is it still essentially a coup attempt?
I think, I don't want to say coup, because I think that, you know, from my position, it leads to a whole set of things. I do think, though, it is an attempt to overthrow the will of the people. And, you know, it's one thing to be concerned about voter fraud. I think everybody's concerned about voter fraud, and we want to go after it whenever we can. But to make accusations that, you know, 20,000 votes that were just for Biden, and then you see that that wasn't true, or that there's a explanation because the Trump votes were uploaded in the second tranche. I mean, to say all that, to overload people with information, to confuse them, and then this is the most dangerous part, is we know that President-elect Biden is going to be president. We know that. But the damage that is done to the trust in the institutions out here is what can be long-term or even short-term detrimental. It is the only thing that makes a constitutional republic work is the understanding that we can have transfers of power and we can all trust each other with the will of the people. You know, when that starts being violated, it's damaging.
What really worries me is the potential God forbid, for violence. So the mayor of Washington, D.C. Has now asked that the National Guard be mobilized tomorrow and Wednesday here because demonstrations are about to begin in favor of the president against the election result, and there could be some significant violence. How worried are you, and you're a military man, how worried are you that what the president is inspiring right now could lead to some significant violence, not only in the nation's capital, but around the country?
I am worried. I am worried. You know, we saw violence in the summer. I think we could potentially see violence tomorrow, and potentially, I hope not. But what's happening now is people, instead of expressing themselves by making arguments or having discussions, are expressing themselves that way. What I get concerned about is you can go on Twitter where, you know, somebody has 500,000 or 1 million followers, and they're telling you that they know that Donald Trump won, and the government is, or the deep state, or the, you know, the Satanist pedophiles that QAnon believes runs the government, are going to overthrow your will. It's not totally irrational then to think that somebody is going to take that into their own hands. It's a major concern that the president knows better. Leaders out here know better. And it's much easier, evidently, to just avoid telling the truth because you don't want to get swamped by the Twitter mobs.
And you would think the president of the United States would want to calm things down, but he's not doing that. He's doing exactly the opposite right now. Congressman Kinzinger, thanks for everything you're doing. We really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.